Maya Rodriguez had been living on the streets of downtown Chicago for 8 months. At 19 years old, she carried everything she owned in a torn backpack that had seen better days. The cold October wind cut through her thin jacket as she sat outside the Millennium Station, watching thousands of people rush past her every day. Most didn't even glance in her direction. She wasn't always homeless. Just 2 years ago, Maya was a college freshman studying nursing at a community college. She had dreams of helping people, of making a difference in the world. But life had other plans. When her mother died suddenly from cancer, Maya was left with overwhelming medical bills and no family to turn to. Her father had left when she was 12, and her mother was an only child. The small apartment they rented was soon taken away. When Maya couldn't keep up with the payments while grieving and trying to finish school, pride kept her from asking the few friends she had for help. She dropped out of college and tried to work multiple jobs, but without a permanent address, it became increasingly difficult to maintain employment. Slowly, she found herself with nowhere to go except the streets. Maya had learned to survive in ways she never imagined. She knew which restaurants threw away food that was still good, which public bathrooms stayed open late, and which areas of the city were safer to sleep in. She had become invisible to most people, just another face in the crowd of those society had forgotten. On this particular Tuesday morning, Maya was sitting near her usual spot when she noticed a commotion nearby. A tall man in an expensive suit was frantically patting his pockets and looking around on the ground. He had salt and pepper hair and wore a watch that probably cost more than most people made in a year. Several other well-dressed people surrounded him, all speaking at once. "Mr. Harrison, are you sure you had it when you left the car?" asked a woman with a clipboard. "I'm positive, Sarah. I remember checking it right before we got out." "It has to be here somewhere," the man replied, his voice filled with stress. Maya watched as the group searched the area. The man, apparently Mr. Harrison, kept checking his phone and shaking his head. From what she could hear, he had lost his wallet somewhere between his car and the building he was about to enter for an important business meeting. "Sir, we really need to get you upstairs. The board meeting starts in 10 minutes, urged another person in the group. "I can't go up there without my identification. And my credit cards? Everything is in that wallet. Cancel the meeting, we need—" "To keep looking," Mr. Harrison said firmly. As the group continued their frantic search, Maya noticed something they had missed. About 20 feet away, partially hidden under a newspaper that had blown against a bench, she could see the corner of what looked like black leather. She stood up slowly, her joints stiff from sitting on the cold concrete, and walked over to investigate. Sure enough, it was a wallet. An expensive-looking black leather wallet that had apparently fallen and been covered by debris. Maya picked it up and opened it to check if it belonged to the man who was searching. Inside, she saw an ID with the name Robert Harrison and a photo that matched the frantic businessman. The wallet was thick with cash, credit cards, and what appeared to be important business cards. Maya had never seen so much money in one place. She quickly counted at least $1,500 in various bills. For someone who hadn't had a proper meal in 3 days, it was more money than she could have imagined. For a moment, Maya stood there holding the wallet, watching the group of people search desperately in all the wrong places. She thought about her empty stomach, about the cold nights ahead, about how this money could get her a warm place to stay and decent food for weeks. She thought about how these wealthy people probably wouldn't even miss this amount of money. But then she thought about her mother, who had raised her to always do the right thing, no matter how difficult it might be. She remembered the lessons about integrity and honesty that had been instilled in her from a young age. Her mother used to say, "Maya, your character is measured not by what you do when people are watching, but by what you do when no one is looking." Maya looked at the photo on the ID again. Despite his expensive clothes and obvious wealth, Mr. Harrison looked like someone's father, someone's husband. She imagined how worried he must be. how this could affect whatever important meeting he was supposed to attend. Without hesitating further, Maya walked toward the group of searchers. As she approached, several people looked at her with expressions ranging from curiosity to mild alarm. Her appearance clearly marked her as homeless, and she was used to people's uncomfortable reactions. "Excuse me," Maya said softly, addressing Mr. Harrison directly. "Are you looking for this?" She held out the wallet, and the entire group fell, silent. Mr. Harrison's eyes widened as he recognized his wallet, and relief flooded his face. "Oh my God, yes! That's it! Where did you find it?" he asked, reaching for the wallet. "It was over there, under some newspapers by that bench," Maya replied, pointing to where she had discovered it. Mr. Harrison quickly checked the contents of his wallet, and Maya could see his amazement as he realized everything was still there, untouched. He looked up at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "You didn't take anything," he said, more as a statement than a question. Maya shook her head. "It's not mine to take." The group around Mr. Harrison exchanged glances, clearly surprised by this turn of events. Maya started to turn away, ready to return to her spot by the station when Mr. Harrison called out to her, "Wait, please don't go yet!" Maya turned back, uncertain about what Mr. Harrison wanted. She noticed that his entire demeanor had changed. The frantic businessman from moments before now stood calmly, studying her with intense curiosity. His colleagues shuffled impatiently, clearly eager to get him to his meeting, but he seemed oblivious to their urgency. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Maya," she replied, tucking a strand of unwashed hair behind her ear self-consciously. "Maya, I'm Robert Harrison. I want to thank you for returning my wallet. Most people would have." He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully, might have been tempted to keep it. Maya shrugged. "Like I said, it wasn't mine." Robert pulled out several $20 bills from his wallet. "Please, let me give you a reward. This wallet contains things that are irreplaceable to me." Maya looked at the money he was offering. It would buy her food for days, maybe even a cheap motel room for a night or two. But something inside her resisted taking it. She had done the right thing because it was right, not for a reward. "I don't need anything," Maya said, though her stomach growled audibly as she spoke. Robert heard it too, and his expression softened further. "When was the last time you ate a proper meal?" Maya felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. "I'm fine, really. I should let you get to your meeting." "Mr. Harrison," interrupted the woman with the clipboard. "We really are quite late now." Robert held up a hand to silence her, never taking his eyes off Maya. "Sarah, reschedule the meeting. Tell them something came up that requires my immediate attention." "Sir, this is the quarterly board meeting with the investors. We can't just—" "We can and we will," Robert said firmly. "Maya, would you join me for breakfast? There's a cafe right around the corner. I'd like to talk with you." Maya was taken aback by the invitation. She looked down at her worn clothes, dirty from weeks of wear, then at the pristine businessman in front of her. "I don't think that's a good idea. I don't exactly fit in at places where you probably eat." "Then we'll find a place where you do fit in," Robert replied without hesitation. "Please, I insist." Something in his tone was different from the pity she was used to hearing from the few people who acknowledged her existence. This felt more like genuine interest, and Maya found herself nodding before she could think better of it. Robert turned to his colleagues. "Sarah, I want you to reschedule everything for today. Move my 2 o'clock to tomorrow and push back the conference call with Tokyo. Something important has come up." "But Mr. Harrison—" "That's final," Robert said, then turned back to Maya. "Shall we go?" They walked together toward a small diner that Maya had often smelled from the outside but never dared enter. As they approached, Maya hesitated again. "Are you sure about this? People are going to stare." "Let them stare," Robert said, opening the door for her. I've learned that sometimes the most important meetings happen when you least expect them. Inside the diner, heads did turn as they entered. The contrast between Robert's expensive suit and Maya's shabby appearance was stark, but Robert seemed completely unbothered as he chose a booth in the back corner. A waitress approached cautiously, clearly puzzled by the odd pairing. "Good morning, folks. What can I get you started with?" "Coffee for both of us," Robert said, then looked at Maya. "Order whatever you'd like. Everything here is excellent." Maya's eyes scanned the menu, trying to find the cheapest items. She hadn't eaten in a restaurant in months, and the prices seemed overwhelming. Maybe just toast and coffee. "Nonsense," Robert interrupted. "Bring us 2 full breakfast specials, eggs, bacon, pancakes, the works, and orange juice." After the waitress left, an awkward silence settled between them. Maya fidgeted with the paper napkin, unsure of what to say. Finally, Robert spoke. "How long have you been living on the streets?" Maya looked up, surprised by the direct question. Most people pretended not to notice her situation. 8 months, she answered quietly. "That's a long time." "What happened, if you don't mind me asking?" Something about Robert's manner made Maya feel safe enough to share her story. She told him about her mother's death, the medical bills, losing their apartment, and how everything had spiraled from there. Robert listened without interrupting, his expression growing more thoughtful with each detail. "You were studying nursing?" he asked when she finished. "Yeah, but I had to drop out. Couldn't keep up with school and try to survive at the same time." That must have been incredibly difficult. Nursing is a calling that requires real dedication. The food arrived, and Maya tried to eat slowly, not wanting to appear desperate despite her hunger. But Robert noticed how quickly she was putting away the food and quietly signaled the waitress to bring more. "Tell me," Robert said as Maya ate, "what would you do if you could go back to school?" Maya paused mid-bite. "I'd finish my nursing degree. I still want to help people, you know. Even after everything that's happened, I still believe in that. Even though people have largely ignored your situation, even though society has let you down." Maya considered the question seriously. "I don't blame regular people for not helping. Everyone has their own problems, and maybe some of them have been hurt before by people who weren't really in need. I get why they're cautious." Robert leaned back in his seat, studying her intently. "That's a remarkably mature perspective from someone who has every right to be bitter." "Being bitter won't change my situation," Maya replied. "My mom used to say that you can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond to it." "Your mother sounds like she was a wise woman." "She was the best person I knew." Maya's voice caught slightly. "I think about her every day. Sometimes I wonder what she'd think of where I ended up." "I think she'd be proud of the woman who returned a stranger's wallet when she desperately needed the money herself," Robert said softly. Maya felt tears threatening and quickly wiped her eyes with her napkin. "Sorry, I don't usually talk about this stuff with strangers." "Maybe I'm not exactly a stranger anymore," Robert suggested. "After all, you've probably saved my entire day by finding that wallet. Was it really that important?" Robert smiled. "That wallet contains more than just money and credit cards. It has photos of my family, business cards from deals that took years to negotiate, and a note my daughter wrote me on my last birthday." "Things that couldn't be replaced?" Maya nodded, understanding. "I'm glad I found it then." "So am I. More than you know." As they finished breakfast, Robert seemed lost in thought. Maya could see him glancing at her periodically, as if he were working through some internal calculation. She began to feel uncomfortable under his scrutiny. "I should probably get going," Maya said, starting to slide out of the booth. "Thank you for breakfast. It was really kind of you." Maya. "Wait," Robert said quickly. "I have a proposition for you." Maya froze. She had heard propositions from men before, and they were never anything she wanted to hear. Her defensive walls immediately went up. Robert seemed to sense her discomfort. Nothing inappropriate, he said quickly. This is a business proposition. A job offer, actually. Maya sat back down, intrigued despite herself. What kind of job? I own a company called Harrison Industries. We manufacture medical equipment and supplies. I'm always looking for people who understand the importance of integrity and doing the right thing, even when it's difficult. I don't have any business experience, Maya said. I never even finished college. Experience can be gained. Character cannot be taught. Robert pulled out his phone and showed her a photo of a large office building. This is our main facility. We employ over 3,000 people and supply hospitals across the country. Maya stared at the impressive building on his phone screen. That's amazing, but I still don't understand what job you're offering me. I want to start you in our entry-level training program. It's designed for people who want to learn the medical supply business from the ground up. The starting salary is $45,000 a year with full benefits and opportunities for advancement. Maya's jaw dropped. $45,000? Are you serious? Completely serious. But there are conditions. Maya's heart sank. There were always conditions, and they were usually things she couldn't or wouldn't agree to. First, Robert continued, you have to be willing to work hard. This isn't charity. I expect excellence from all my employees. I can work hard, Maya said quickly. Second, you have to be willing to go back to school. We have a partnership with several local colleges. The company will pay for you to finish your nursing degree, but you have to maintain good grades. Maya felt dizzy. You'd pay for me to go back to school? It's an investment in our future employees. Many of our best managers started in entry-level positions and worked their way up while completing their education. What's the third condition? Maya asked, almost afraid to hear it. Robert smiled. You have to promise to pay it forward someday. When you're in a position to help someone else who's struggling, I want your word that you'll do it. Maya felt tears welling up again. Why would you do this for me? You don't even know me. I know enough, Robert replied. I know you're honest. I know you're principled. I know you're resilient enough to survive 8 months on the streets without losing your moral compass. Those are qualities that can't be taught. But there has to be a catch. Things like this don't just happen. Robert was quiet for a moment, stirring his coffee thoughtfully. Can I tell you a story? Maya nodded. 25 years ago, I was in a very different place in my life. I had just graduated from college, but I was drowning in student loans. My father had died when I was 16, and my mother was working 2 jobs just to keep our house. I was working at a gas station at night and applying for jobs during the day, but nothing was working out. Maya listened intently as Robert continued. One evening, a man came into the gas station. Expensive car, nice suit, clearly successful. He bought gas and some snacks, and when he went to pay, he accidentally dropped his wallet in the parking lot. I found it after he left. It had over $2,000 in cash, plus all his cards and identification. Maya began to see where the story was going. I could have really used that money. We were behind on the mortgage, my mother was stressed about bills, and I was eating ramen noodles for every meal. But I knew it wasn't mine to take, so I looked up his address and drove to his house to return it. What happened? He was shocked that I had returned it untouched. He asked me about my situation, much like I asked you about yours. The next week, he offered me an entry-level job at his company. He paid for me to get my MBA, mentored me through the early years of my career, and eventually, when he retired, he sold me the company at a fraction of what it was worth. Maya's eyes widened. That's how you got Harrison Industries? That's exactly how. That man, William Chen, taught me that success isn't just about what you achieve for yourself. It's about what you do for others along the way. He changed my entire life because I made one honest decision. And now you want to do the same thing for me. I want to give you the same opportunity I was given. But Maya, I need you to understand something very important. This isn't a handout. If you accept this job, you'll be expected to work harder than you've ever worked in your life. You'll have to prove yourself every single day. Some people will doubt you because of where you came from. You'll face challenges that will test everything you believe about yourself. Maya thought about what he was saying. After months of just trying to survive each day, the idea of having real challenges and real purpose again felt both terrifying and exhilarating. "What happens if I fail?" she asked. "Then you fail," Robert said simply. "But you'll fail while reaching for something better, instead of just trying to get by. And I don't think you're the kind of person who fails easily." Maya looked around the diner, at the normal people living their normal lives, and tried to imagine herself as one of them again. It seemed almost impossible after so many months of being invisible. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Good," Robert replied. "Fear means you understand how important this is. Fear can motivate you to work harder than confidence ever could." Maya took a deep breath. "If I say yes, when would I start?" "How about tomorrow?" "Tomorrow? But I don't have work clothes, or a place to shower, or—" Robert held up his hand. "We'll figure all of that out. The company has a partnership with a local hotel for employees who are relocating. They'll put you up for the first month while you find permanent housing. As for clothes, there's an advance against your salary for exactly these kinds of situations." Maya felt overwhelmed by how quickly her life could potentially change. Just this morning, she had been sitting on a cold sidewalk with no prospects and no hope. Now she was being offered a chance at a completely different future. "I need to ask you something honestly," Maya said. "Are you doing this because you feel sorry for me?" Robert considered the question seriously. "I'm doing this because I believe in second chances, because I recognize quality when I see it, and because someone once did the same thing for me. But Maya, if you think I'm offering you this job out of pity, then you don't understand what kind of businessman I am. I don't make $45,000 investments in people I feel sorry for. I make them in people I believe in." Maya stared across the table at Robert, her mind racing. Everything felt surreal, like she was living in someone else's story. Just hours ago, her biggest concern was finding enough returnable bottles to buy a cup of coffee. Now she was being offered a chance to completely rebuild her life. "I don't know what to say," Maya whispered. "Say yes," Robert encouraged. "Say yes and let's change your life." Maya closed her eyes for a moment, thinking about her mother. What would she have wanted Maya to do? She remembered her mother's voice saying, "Baby, when opportunity knocks, you don't peek through the keyhole, you open that door wide." "Yes," Maya said, opening her eyes. "Yes, I'll take the job." Robert smiled broadly and extended his hand across the table. When Maya shook it, she noticed her own hand was trembling slightly. "Congratulations, Maya. You just took the first step toward your new life." Robert immediately pulled out his phone and began making calls. Maya listened in amazement as he arranged for her to stay at a nearby hotel, set up meetings with human resources, and coordinated with the training department. Within 30 minutes, he had completely restructured her immediate future. "Sarah will meet us at the office in an hour," Robert said, ending his final call. "She's my assistant, and she's going to help you with everything you need to get started. First, we'll get you settled at the hotel. Then we'll take you shopping for appropriate work clothes." "Mr. Harrison," Maya began. "Robert," he corrected. "In business settings, you can call me Mr. Harrison, but right now, we're just two people having a conversation." "Robert, I have to ask again. Are you absolutely sure about this? I mean, you just met me a couple hours ago." Robert leaned forward. "Maya, let me tell you something about successful business. The biggest risks often yield the biggest rewards. But this doesn't feel like a risk to me. This feels like recognizing potential when I see it." They left the diner together, and Maya found herself walking alongside Robert toward his office building. She had passed this building countless times during her months on the street, never imagining she would one day walk through its front doors as an employee. As they entered the impressive lobby, Maya felt every eye in the room turn toward them. The security guards, the receptionist, the well-dressed people waiting by the elevators, everyone seemed to notice the homeless girl walking with the obviously important businessman. Robert appeared completely oblivious to the stares. He guided Maya to the elevator and pressed the button for the executive floor. "Don't mind them," he said quietly. "They're curious, that's all. By next week, you'll just be another employee, and no one will think twice about it." The elevator opened onto a floor that looked like something from a movie. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered stunning views of the city. Expensive artwork lined the walls, and everything was pristine and professional. "Mr. Harrison!" A woman with perfectly styled hair and a sharp business suit approached them quickly. This had to be Sarah, Maya thought. "Sarah, I'd like you to meet Maya Rodriguez, our newest employee. Maya, this is Sarah Chen, my assistant." Sarah's eyes widened slightly as she took in Maya's appearance, but to her credit, she quickly composed herself and extended her hand with a warm smile. "It's wonderful to meet you, Maya. Welcome to Harrison Industries." Maya shook her hand, acutely, aware of the contrast between Sarah's manicured nails and her own dirty, chewed fingernails. "Sarah, I need you to help Maya with everything she needs to get started. Hotel arrangements, advance on salary for clothes and necessities, introduction to the training program supervisors, the works." "Of course, Mr. Harrison. I've already made a reservation at the Courtyard Hotel down the street, and I've arranged for Maya to meet with Jennifer in HR at 3 o'clock. Robert nodded approvingly. "Excellent. Maya, you're in very capable hands. Sarah will take care of you from here." Maya suddenly felt panicked as Robert started to walk away. "Wait, what if I mess this up? What if I'm not smart enough or good enough?" Robert turned back to her. "Maya, you survived 8 months on the streets of Chicago. You maintained your integrity when you had every reason to abandon it. You're stronger and more capable than you realize. Trust yourself." With that, Robert disappeared into his office, leaving Maya alone with Sarah. The assistant looked her up and down, not unkindly, but clearly assessing the situation. "All right, Maya, let's get you sorted out. First stop is the hotel, so you can get cleaned up, then we'll go shopping for some professional clothes. Do you have any questions about what's happening?" "About 1,000,000, Maya replied honestly. "But I guess the biggest one is whether this is really happening or if I'm going to wake up on the sidewalk." Sarah laughed. "It's really happening. And I have to say, in 5 years of working for Mr. Harrison, I've never seen him move this quickly on hiring someone. He must see something very special in you." They left the office building together and Sarah hailed a cab. As they rode to the hotel, Sarah explained more about the company and the training program Maya would be entering. The entry-level program is 6 months long. You'll rotate through different departments to learn how the business works. Sales, operations, quality control, customer service, you'll see it all. Most people who complete the program successfully move into permanent positions with good advancement opportunities. "What happens if I don't complete it successfully?" Sarah glanced at her. "Maya, can I give you some advice?" "Please. Stop asking what happens if you fail. Start asking what you need to do to succeed. Mr. Harrison didn't get where he is by planning for failure. He got there by focusing on success." At the hotel, Sarah helped Maya check in and accompanied her to her room. It was a standard business hotel room, but to Maya, it felt like a palace. A real bed with clean sheets, a private bathroom with hot water, and a television. "Take your time getting cleaned up," Sarah said. "I'll wait in the lobby, and when you're ready, we'll go shopping. The company has approved a $1,000 advance for professional clothing and necessities." After Sarah left, Maya stood alone in the hotel room, trying to process everything that had happened. She walked to the bathroom mirror and barely recognized the person staring back at her. Her hair was matted and unwashed, her skin was dirty, and her clothes were torn and stained. But for the first time in months, she saw something else in her reflection. She saw hope. Maya took the longest, hottest shower of her life. She washed her hair 3 times, scrubbed every inch of her body, and used the entire bottle of complimentary shampoo. When she finally emerged from the bathroom wrapped in the hotel's fluffy white bathrobe, she felt like a different person. She looked at her old clothes lying on the floor and made a decision. She wasn't going to put them back on. Those clothes belonged to the homeless girl who had been surviving on the streets. Maya was ready to become someone new. She wrapped herself in the bathrobe and called down to Sarah in the lobby. "Sarah? This might sound crazy, but I can't put my old clothes back on. Is there any way we could buy something for me to wear shopping first?" Sarah's voice was understanding. "I'll be right up with something. Don't worry, Maya. We've got this figured out." 2 years later, Maya stood in the graduation ceremony auditorium, wearing her cap and gown, as her name was called to receive her associate degree in nursing. In the audience, she could see Robert and Sarah cheering alongside David, who had become like a brother to her over the past year and a half. The journey to this moment had been anything but easy. Balancing full-time work with school had pushed Maya to her limits countless times. There were nights when she fell asleep over her textbooks, mornings when she questioned whether she could handle both responsibilities, and moments when the stress felt overwhelming. But she had persevered, driven by the memory of where she had come from and the determination to make the most of the opportunity she had been given. Her grades were excellent, and she had already been accepted into a bachelor's degree program to continue her nursing education. At Harrison Industries, Maya had also flourished beyond anyone's expectations. After completing the training program, she had been promoted to a specialist position in the medical device testing department. Her unique combination of technical knowledge and practical healthcare experience made her invaluable to the company. "Maya Rodriguez," the announcer called, and she walked across the stage to receive her diploma. As she shook hands with the college president, she thought about how different this moment was from the last time she had been on this campus, the night she had met David outside the building. David had also exceeded every expectation. He had completed the Harrison Industries training program with distinction and was now working in the customer service department while taking business classes in the evenings. Like Maya, he had moved into his own apartment and was building a stable, independent life. But perhaps more importantly, David had already begun paying it forward himself. He volunteered at a local homeless shelter every weekend, sharing his story and helping connect people with resources and opportunities. After the graduation ceremony, the group gathered at a restaurant to celebrate. Robert raised his glass in a toast to Maya, who proves that character and determination can overcome any obstacle, and to all of us who have learned that success is not just about what we achieve for ourselves, but about what we make possible for others. As they clinked glasses, Maya felt overwhelmed with gratitude for the people who had become her chosen family. But she also felt a sense of responsibility. Her story was becoming known around the company and in the community, and people were starting to approach her for advice and help. "Robert," Maya said as they were finishing dinner, "I've been thinking about something." "What's that?" "I want to start a formal program, something that connects homeless individuals with employment opportunities, but also provides the support system they need to succeed long-term." Robert leaned forward with interest. "Tell me more about your vision." Maya had been developing this idea for months. It's not enough to just offer people jobs. They need housing assistance, access to mental health services, help with basic life skills that they may have never learned, and ongoing mentorship. I want to create a comprehensive program that addresses all of these needs. "That's a big undertaking," Robert said thoughtfully. "But I think you're exactly the right person to lead something like that." "I've already started researching it," Maya continued. "There are grants available for programs like this, and I think we could partner with local organizations to provide the services. Harrison Industries could serve as one of the employer partners, but we'd need to recruit other companies too." David looked up from his plate. "Maya, this could help so many people. Count me in for whatever you need." Sarah, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. You know, the company's charitable foundation has been looking for a signature program to support. This could be perfect. Over the following months, Maya threw herself into developing what would become the Second Chance Initiative. She wrote grant proposals, met with city officials, partnered with social service organizations, and convinced businesses to participate as employer partners. Robert provided both financial backing and business expertise, helping Maya navigate the complex process of starting a nonprofit organization. Sarah assisted with administrative support, and David helped design the peer mentorship component of the program. The program launched 6 months later with its first class of 20 participants. Maya had learned from her own experience and David's to create a holistic approach that addressed not just employment, but housing, healthcare, education, and emotional support. Each participant was paired with a mentor who had successfully transitioned. From homelessness to stable employment, they received job training, interview preparation, and assistance finding appropriate housing. But they also received counseling services, life skills training, and ongoing support even after they found employment. The first graduation ceremony for the Second Chance Initiative was held in the same hotel conference room where Maya had first met with Robert's HR department. 15 of the original 20 participants had successfully completed the program and found stable employment with participating companies. Maya stood before the group, looking at faces that reminded her so much of her own journey. There was Marcus, a veteran who had struggled with PTSD and addiction, but was now working as a security supervisor. There was Lisa, a single mother who had lost her housing due to medical bankruptcy, but was now employed as a medical assistant. There was James, a former foster child who had aged out of the system, but was now working in IT support. 2.5 years ago, Maya began, I was sitting on a sidewalk with everything I owned in a backpack, watching people walk past me like I was invisible. I thought my life was over, that I would never be anything more than a burden on society. She paused, seeing nods of recognition from the graduates. But what I learned is that our circumstances don't define our potential. Our past doesn't determine our future. And sometimes, all we need is one person who is willing to see beyond our current situation to who we could become. Maya looked out at the audience where Robert was sitting in the front row with tears in his eyes. Each of you has proven that with opportunity, support, and hard work, anyone can rebuild their life. But more importantly, you've proven that people who have faced hardship often become the most valuable employees, the most committed community members, and the most compassionate leaders. After the ceremony, Robert approached Maya as she was, cleaning up. I have something to tell you, he said with a mysterious smile. What's that? The board of directors has approved a major expansion of the Second Chance Initiative. We're going to scale it to 5 more cities over the next 2 years. Maya's jaw dropped. Are you serious? Completely serious. Maya, what you've built here is changing lives and changing communities. It's exactly the kind of impact I dreamed of when I started this company. I don't know what to say, Robert chuckled. You know, you said the exact same thing when I offered you that first job. Maya laughed, remembering that moment in the diner that felt like a lifetime ago. I guess some things never change. Actually, everything has changed, Robert said seriously. You've become exactly what I knew you could be. You've taken the help you received and multiplied it exponentially. You've created something that will outlast all of us. As Maya drove home to her apartment that night, she reflected on the incredible journey that had brought her to this point. She thought about her mother, who would have been so proud to see her daughter not just surviving, but thriving and helping others do the same. She thought about the wallet she had found that cold October morning, and how one small act of honesty had set in motion a chain of events that had changed not just her life, but the lives of dozens of other people. Maya realized that the most important lesson she had learned wasn't about finding success or achieving her dreams. It was about understanding that everyone deserves a second chance, that small acts of kindness can have enormous consequences, and that the best way to honor the help you've received is to extend that same help to others. As she pulled into her parking space, Maya smiled at the thought of all the lives that would be changed by the Second Chance initiative in the months and years to come. Each person who found stable housing, meaningful work, and renewed hope would carry forward the same spirit of paying it forward that had started with a lost wallet and a homeless girl's decision to do the right thing. The ripple effect that began with Robert's kindness and Maya's integrity would continue spreading outward, touching lives in ways they might never fully know, but creating a legacy of compassion and second chances that would endure for generations to come. 3 weeks later, Maya barely recognized her own life. She woke up each morning in her hotel room, put on one of her new professional outfits, and walked to work at Harrison Industries like she belonged there. And increasingly, she was beginning to believe that she did belong there. The training program was everything Sarah had promised, and more. Maya rotated through different departments, learning something new every day. She discovered she had a natural aptitude for understanding the technical specifications of medical equipment, and her background studying nursing gave her insights that impressed her supervisors. Maya, your perspective on this ventilator design is exactly what we needed, said Jennifer Martinez, the head of product development, during a team meeting. You're thinking about it from the patient's point of view, which is something we don't always consider. Maya had slowly begun to open up to her colleagues. Most of them didn't know about her background, and she preferred it that way. To them, she was simply a new employee who worked hard and asked thoughtful questions. But Robert knew, and he made a point of checking on her progress regularly. Every Friday afternoon, he would stop by whichever department she was working in that week and ask how things were going. You're exceeding everyone's expectations, he told her during one of these visits. Jennifer says you caught a potential safety issue with one of our new products that the entire engineering team had missed. Maya felt a flush of pride. I just thought about what it would be like for a nurse trying to use that equipment during an emergency. The interface was too complicated. That kind of thinking is exactly why I hired you, Robert said. You bring a perspective we desperately needed. Maya had also started evening classes at the community college, working toward completing her nursing degree. The company was paying for her tuition just as Robert had promised. After her 8-hour workdays, she would spend 3 hours in class, then return to her hotel room to study until late into the night. It was exhausting, but it was also exhilarating. For the first time in nearly a year, Maya felt like she was building toward something instead of just surviving day to day. She had also begun looking for a permanent apartment. The hotel was comfortable, but she was ready to have a real home again. Sarah had helped her understand her credit situation and figure out what she could afford on her salary. You'll want to save money for a security deposit, Sarah advised. But with your steady income now, you should be able to qualify for a decent place. The transformation wasn't just professional and financial. Maya had gained weight, returning to a healthy size after months of inadequate nutrition. Her hair had grown out and regained its natural shine. She had learned to walk with confidence through the office halls, and people responded to her differently now that she carried herself like someone who belonged. But perhaps the biggest change was in how Maya saw herself. The defeated, desperate girl who had sat on sidewalks begging for spare change was being replaced by a young woman with goals and aspirations. One evening, as Maya was leaving her accounting class, she noticed a commotion outside the college building. A group of students had gathered around someone sitting on the ground. As Maya got closer, she saw it was a young man, probably around her own age, who was clearly homeless. "Come on, man, you can't just sit here," one of the students was saying, not unkindly but firmly. "Security is going to make you move anyway." The homeless man looked up with hollow eyes that Maya recognized all too well. It was the look of someone who had given up hope, who was just trying to make it through another day. Maya felt her heart race as memories of her own time on the streets flooded back. Without thinking, she approached the group. "Hey," she said to the homeless man, "are you hungry?" He nodded cautiously, clearly wary of another person who might just be looking to move him along. "There's a diner about 2 blocks from here. Would you like to get something to eat?" The students around them looked at Maya with surprise. Here was a professionally dressed woman offering to help someone they were trying to get rid of. "I don't have any money," the man said quietly. "That's okay," Maya replied. "I do." As they walked to the diner together, the man introduced himself as David. He told Maya he had been on the streets for about 6 months after aging out of the foster care system. He had no family, no support system, and no idea how to navigate the adult world on his own. Maya listened to his story with growing emotion. It was different from her own, but the desperation and hopelessness were familiar. "Have you tried looking for work?" she asked as they settled into a booth at the diner. "Who's going to hire someone who looks like me?" David replied, gesturing to his dirty clothes and unkempt appearance. "I can't even put down an address on an application." Maya thought about Robert's words from weeks ago about paying it forward. She thought about the promise she had made to help someone else when she was in a position to do so. "David, what if I told you there might be another way?" Over dinner, Maya shared her own story. She told David about finding Robert's wallet, about the job offer that had changed her life, and about the opportunities that were now available to her. David listened with growing amazement. "You're saying this guy just gave you a job because you returned his wallet?" "He gave me a chance," Maya corrected. "I had to earn the job. But yes, one honest decision opened a door I never could have opened on my own." "That's incredible. You're like a completely different person now." "I feel like a different person," Maya admitted. "But David, I want you to know something important. The person who returned that wallet, that was still me. The same me who had been living on the streets for 8 months. We don't become different people when our circumstances change. We just get the opportunity to show who we really are." David looked skeptical. "That's easy to say when you're sitting in clean clothes with a job and a future." Maya understood his doubt. "You're right. It is easier to say now. But I remember exactly how you're feeling right now. I remember thinking that no one would ever see past my appearance or my situation to who I really was inside." "So what are you suggesting?" Maya took a deep breath. "I'm suggesting that maybe it's time for me to pay it forward. My company is always looking for good people, and I think I know someone who might be willing to give you the same chance he gave me." "You mean your boss? The guy who hired you?" "Robert Harrison." "Yes. But David, if I'm going to talk to him about you, I need you to be honest with me. Are you willing to work hard? Are you willing to change your life if someone gives you the opportunity?" David's eyes filled with tears. "Maya, I've been living in doorways and eating out of garbage cans for 6 months. I'll do anything for a real chance." "Then let's see what we can do." The next morning, Maya knocked on Robert's office door with butterflies in her stomach. She had rehearsed what she wanted to say, but she was still nervous about asking for such a big favor. "Maya." "Come in," Robert said warmly. "How are things going?" "Really well, actually. I wanted to talk to you about something." Robert gestured for her to sit down. "Of course. What's on your mind?" Maya told him about meeting David and seeing herself in his situation. She explained his background and her belief that he deserved the same chance she had been given. Robert listened thoughtfully, asking a few questions about David's situation and Maya's assessment of his character. "You know," Robert said when she finished, "I was wondering when this conversation would happen." "You were?" "Maya, when I offered you this job, part of the deal was that you would pay it forward someday. I didn't expect it to happen quite this quickly, but I'm not surprised. People who have experienced hardship often have the most compassion for others in similar situations. So you'll meet with him? Robert smiled. I'll do better than that. We've just gotten approval to expand our entry-level training program. If David is willing to work as hard as you have, we can bring him into the next class. Maya felt tears of gratitude welling up. Robert, I don't know how to thank you. You don't need to thank me. You're keeping your promise to help someone else. That's all the thanks I need. That afternoon, Maya met David at the same diner where she had first eaten with Robert. She could hardly contain her excitement as she told him about the opportunity. He's willing to give me the same chance he gave you? David asked in disbelief. He's willing to give you a chance to prove yourself, Maya clarified. The rest is up to you. David broke down crying right there in the restaurant. Maya reached across the table and took his hand, remembering how overwhelmed she had felt in this same situation just weeks before. David, this is just the beginning. The real work starts now. You're going to have to be stronger than you've ever been. You're going to have to believe in yourself when others doubt you. And you're going to have to remember that you deserve this opportunity. I can't believe this is happening, David whispered. Believe it, Maya said firmly. And when you're successful, when you're in a position to help someone else, I want you to remember this feeling, because someday it'll be your turn to pay it forward. But more importantly, she had rediscovered her sense of purpose. She was going to finish her nursing degree, build a career at HAR,